Good morning and happy Wednesday. Today we will go over my tax return, which check it out. I've got income from a number of sources, including Etsy, eBay, TCG Player, whatnot, and PayPal, and it adds up to over $100,000. And that is how much money I made last year. Made is a generous term. That is how much money entered a bank account that I own. That is not how much money I got to keep, because a lot of that was spent on the actual product. For example, on TCG Player, I'm buying, for the most part, sealed Commander deck sets, breaking those down, and then selling the singles. And usually I'll make about 10% on those. So, I'll spend $1,000. I will get, $1,100 or whatever, but I spent $1,000 on the stamps and the whatever. So anyways, out of this 100 grand, I got to take home maybe like 10 grand, which isn't, the craziest amount ever, but it's pretty crazy. And this is actually a lot more than I thought it was going to be. When I was filling out, I was opening a different business bank account the other week, and they asked me, how much money does your business make? And I told them $50,000 because I thought that I was going to net closer to that this past year, but turns out, no, it's closer to 100. And it is 100. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to go over each of these. What did I do and what it means, what it could mean for you if you're interested in this kind of stuff. And so let's dive in. So going down the list, Etsy is where I sell proxies. Dirty, evil proxies. And guess what? What's fascinating about the proxy market is that it is inverse correlated with how good Magic the Gathering is doing at running their business. So proxies were doing really well in 2023. Yeah, it was crazy well in 2023. And 2024, they were doing great too. And then 2025 started to do less great. And that's what you could see here. I made 12 grand in 2024, then in 2025 made 6 grand or whatever. Yep, proxies, evil, dirty things, but there's a market for it. And if you want to compete in that market, you can go ahead and do it. It's not really that interesting to me, but, try it out. Let's talk about eBay. So like I mentioned, the primary bread and butter of all of the money that I've made this past year is Commander decks. So the deal is, like, if you want to do it really consistently, you want to sign up for some kind of wholesale program, some kind of YouTube channel where they're offering a Patreon, and you pay, whatever, $25 a month, and then you get access to their, wholesale, so some kind of distributor, and then buying Commander decks where you can net a profit. Now, there's a couple kind of caveats and dangers to this. Say hi to my cat JP if you're watching. But it's actually really consistent money. It's really sweet if you can know that you're buying a Commander deck set that has inverse expected value. Like I mentioned this on another video, but the Dragons of Tarkir right now is inverse expected value. If you're able to buy it for 140, 145, 150, after you sell all the cards, you technically can sell all the cards for like 220 or something like that. And then you take 20% off, and that's like 180. So you're netting, if you're able to buy it shipped for 150, then you're netting $30 for each set. Now, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to break down 5 Commander decks, list all the singles, sell them. And there's ways to make that work more efficient. I think I've done a really good job. Actually, when I did the calculations, when we talk about TCG Player, we'll talk about like how much I think I was paid per hour. But I think that I've done a good job making things fairly efficient. Also, when I compare myself to other YouTubers, when they talk about how many orders they'll do a day, I think that I've done a pretty good job. And so anyways, but it's still a lot of work, So what's left over, though, from, for example, Dragonstorm or Bloomburrow or other Commander deck sets that you break down are these collector sample packs. Now, you've got a couple options of what you can do with these collector sample packs. You could sell them on like TCG Player, for example. The Dragonstorm ones sell on TCG Player for like $3 or $4 shipped, something like that. Pretty inexpensive, pretty wild. You could also open them. Most of the cards you open won't be worth anything, but you can open a Voice of Victory, which is like a $14 card in its showcase frame. So, you could just kind of gamble on it. Like, so let's say you buy 5 deck sets. Each deck set comes with 5 decks. You get 25 of these packs. You're hoping you open 2 Voices of Victory, and then that would be still a lot less money than if you just sold them sealed. Yeah, so I'll take it back. So so basically, because I've had this question asked to me on some of the Discords I'm part of, is like, oh, why do you sell them sealed? Why don't you open them? And it's like, because the expected value is terrible. And so what I end up doing is I'll make a bulk lot. Like a lot of what this PayPal has been is I'll make a bulk lot of these sealed collector sample packs, and then I'll sell them, or I'll offer them on a Discord or Facebook group or whatever, for a big discount. So for example, if 25 collector sample packs of Tarkir are like $3, if you could buy them all for like $75 on TCG Player, I'll sell them all for $50, or even $40, and do it through PayPal Goods and Services. That way the buyer feels protected, and then I, as the seller, am somewhat protected, and then sell. People buy it, send the money, and that's a lot of PayPal of what I've made. PayPal is really cool because there is a 3% fee. So that's part of the reason too. Like I could sell bulk lot on eBay. Like maybe I could sell all, 25 collector sample packs on eBay for $60, but then they take, basically 15%. I mean, it's like 13.5 or whatever. And so I'm basically selling it for $50 anyway, where I can just pass that savings along. If I'm part of a Facebook group, I'm able to offer like, hey, check these out. Do you want them for, $50? Then people are more interested. They'll sell quicker. And then I get to basically make the same amount of money. So feels good. It's a good time. I'm trying to think if there's other things that have gone on PayPal. I did speculate on what was it? Oh, it was one of the new trading card games, Altered. I did one of the highest not even GameFound. What is it? Oh my gosh. Kickstarter. I did one of the highest Kickstarter tiers for Altered when it was originally coming out in that Altered Kickstarter was in early 2024. And so then I got those boxes in September 2024. And it was around January or December of 2024 where I was like, this game is going to fail. So I sold the remaining like 38 boxes I had. I was selling one a month on eBay. But I sold the remaining boxes I had to a store in Utah. And that was through PayPal Goods and Services. So that was a good time. So that was actually like $3,500 or something like that, of that PayPal. But still, even with that, there's a lot of PayPal going on. Pretty cool stuff. Let's talk about Whatnot real quick. So Whatnot has a deal. Like if you get a recommendation link or whatever from somebody, your new seller, at least this was true when I did it, if you sell $150 worth of stuff, they'll give you $150. So pretty cool gig. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it out. And my depression wasn't very well medicated back then. So it was really cool that I was able to bust this out. I was able to just sit down and start a stream. And I have multiple cameras, so a lot of people stream from their phone. I think that is fine. I stream through OBS, and I have two webcams. So I have this webcam that's looking at me, and then I have this webcam that's right here off camera that's looking down. And so I'm able to put the product on my desk right here and share it. And that's what most of the screen is when I'm on Whatnot. And then part of the screen is me. And so people are able to see me. And that's a big deal because this handsome mug is going to sell packs. And honestly, I'm joking, but like, I think it just sets you apart to be able to be a person that people can relate to. I don't know. A lot of people are uncomfortable with that, which is okay. But I think if you are comfortable or willing to put your face out there, it's a good idea. The margins and Whatnot are not fantastic, or I should say it's like tricky to figure out what actually makes money. There's a lot of different people trying a lot of different things. I'll say that if you want a lot of people to follow your stream and join and bid on stuff, selling singles that are high value is a great way to do it. However, it's because those singles will sell below market. And so compared to selling on TCG Player, you're going to lose money. Now, the convenience is really nice. So the really nice thing about Whatnot is selling stuff quick and easy. So you can presumably sell stuff quick if you're willing to price it under market, which is, generally what people like, what they want to see happen. And then when it's done, the shipping is just taken care of for you. So one thing that's a pain about TCG Player that people complain about, rightfully so, is that TCG Player does not take care of shipping. eBay does this and Whatnot does this. What happens is if you sell an item that's under a certain value, they will, for 74 cents, which is the cost of a stamp anyway, but they will give you a label, a stamped label that you can print out. And so I have a label printer, very important for my business. Oh my gosh. Having a nice printer and having a label printer, having a nice printer means that it doesn't take ink cartridges. It needs to take ink from bottles and you just fill it up. PokePaster gave me my advice on my printer, and it's the one I have, and I'm looking at it right now with stars in my eyes because I love that thing. Because I was using, for most of last year, I was using a cartridge printer, and I was probably spending like $50 a week on cartridges. And now I spend probably less than like, I don't know, $1 a week on ink, even though I'm doing the same amount of stuff. It's crazy. So, yeah. So anyways, nice printer, the label printer. I can't remember the brand. I could do a different video where I talk about all the materials. Anyways, so with Whatnot, you do all your sales, and then at the end of the day, you can just, and you download this whole list of labels. You just print them all out. They're on these 4-inch by 6-inch label things. And then, assuming you're the slightest bit organized, which is not me, I'm not a very organized person, but I'm the slightest bit organized. You've got all the stuff you've sold, you've got your labels, and then you've just got a bunch of envelopes, and you can just put in, close, and label, and you're done. Where it's different for TCG Player, where for TCG Player you get all the pieces of paper, you get all the product, you need to match the product with the paper. You need to wrap it up, put it in the envelope, stamp your address on it, put a stamp on it, then you're done. So Whatnot makes selling easier for sure. But the buyers on Whatnot want a deal, so you're going to make less money on most things, but not all things. Because, for example, I've had a lot of success selling my collector sample packs on Whatnot, where, on TCG Player, $3 for a collector sample pack is what people are paying for Dragonstorm. On Whatnot, I can list them for $4, and people will buy that because it's a relatively inexpensive product for an experience, right? It's like on Whatnot, people want me to open it, and they're hoping that they get a cool card or a cool hit, and they do. They do get cool cards and cool hits. It's just not like super valuable, right? But it is a cool pack opening experience. And so, except for Voice of Victory, that's the one card that's worth money. I think they could open Harmonize too, which is now $10 or whatever. Maybe Harmonize is the name of the mechanic, huh? I don't think that's the name of the card. Anyways, it's that green tutor spell. So from Turkey or Dragonstorm. So, yeah, Whatnot's cool. Whatnot's a good time. I've had a lot of fun on Whatnot. I want to keep doing Whatnot. I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to make Whatnot more profitable. The biggest thing too that's tricky about making Whatnot work is that there's a 30 cent per item fee, which means if you're selling stuff for $1, you're actually only going to make like 55 cents or something like that. Which stinks, because I would love to sell dollar rares and mythics all day, but it's just not that profitable and does not add up quick. So if you're selling stuff for $10 each, that 30 cent fee doesn't matter as much, right? But when you're selling for $1, it's like the margins are so bad. So that's Whatnot. That is Whatnot. That's fun, but yeah. All right. Let's talk about TCG Player, the big one. And this is the last one on my list. So, what do I do with TCG Player? TCG Player is the easiest place to list and sell cards at market value. So, I will do two things that end up on TCG Player. I will buy product from my distribution partners or my whatever partners, store partners. I'll open it, break it down into valuable singles, and then sell those. And then the other thing I can do is I'll buy collections on Facebook Marketplace and break that down, list those. There's a couple of things that make TCG Player really, really awesome. One is their app. If you download the TCG Player app, and I guess if you're a level 4 seller, which you got to work up to, you can use their scan feature. I'm trying to pull it up. And so you can scan. So, this is the camera looking at me, but you can have your card on the table and white background works the best. And you just scan every card, and then it's ready to go. So that's a big deal. And you can also save those scans to a list. So for example, if I know I'm going to end up breaking down, like last year, what did I do a lot of last year? I did Murders of Karlov Manor. I did Doctor Who. I did a lot of Doctor Who commander decks last year. So, the Doctor Who commander decks, break it down once, scan it, save it to a list. Now I have that list forever. And so now in the future, if I'm buying 5 more Doctor Who commander decks, then I will have that list ready. I need to remind myself which cards are valuable to pull them out. And then I can upload that list to TCG Player if I'm a level 4 seller and add that to my inventory. And that makes it very easy to add things to my inventory. Breaking down commander decks is a labor of love. I'll talk about how much money I think I made an hour in a minute, but it's a lot of work. And so you open them up, you get out the collector sample pack, you get out the deck, you set the decks to the side, the sample packs to the side, you have a bunch of garbage that hopefully you can recycle. Then eventually you have all these sealed decks. So then you rip these decks open. And I've got actually a bunch in the cabinet behind me, but I'm not going to grab them right now. You've got a bunch of these sealed decks. You rip them open, and then you just go through the cards, sort them out. There's a couple cool things about the decks. So first off, there's the cards, and you have to think about what threshold of value am I willing to grab. In my experience, so I'm actually not 100% confident about this. I've seen people disagree with each other on this, but I think this is true. I think that TCG Player charges more for shipping than it costs to ship. And by that, what I mean is if you're a level 4 seller and you're able to set your shipping price to 0, by default, anything under $5 has $1.31 for shipping. And they raise that periodically. Every once in a while, they're just like, we're going to make the minimum shipping price $1.36 or whatever. I don't think it costs $1.31 to ship. I'm pretty sure that, stamp is like whatever, 74 cents, 78 cents. And then an envelope is maybe a couple cents. If you're like me, you have a team bag, a top loader, an inner sleeve, all just a couple cents. And then the ink for the stamp, where I stamp my address, is a cent, not even, right? Is basically negligible. I don't think that adds up to $1. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me, but and maybe I'm forgetting about a cost, but I don't think so. So, the paper that the packing slip goes on, I guess, a cent. Anyway, all that adds up to like less than $1 or maybe $1. So there's like 31 cents there. And now TCG Player does take a portion of that. So, so, if they take, 20 cents. So maybe there's like 10, 15 cents maybe that you're pocketing for each sale under $5, which doesn't sound like much, but it adds up, right? So if you sell 10 of those, then you're getting an extra $1. So there's value to selling these low value cards at market price beyond just the card value. So what does that mean? It means that if you're willing to sell the cards that are like 30 cents plus market value, you can make more money, obviously. And that's what I've done recently. Basically, any card that's market price is 30 cents or above, I will list it and sell it. And I'm not the most organized person in the world, so I'm not always getting every single card that's 30 cents or above. Stuff changes too. Stuff will go down, stuff will go up. When stuff goes down, I notice that and I remove it, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to pull out, this card because it's just going down in price. Oh, another exception to that too are staples, right? So like Command Tower or Arcane Signet, I will just list those. Arcane Signet's like a 50-cent card. So, man, remember when Arcane Signet first came out and it was like 10, 15 bucks? That was crazy. Anyway, it's a 50-cent card now. so that to me is worth selling. It's important too, like when I talk about the Dragonstorm, what it's worth to sell, that you net like 180 bucks. Well, I guess you net like 30 bucks if you buy it for 150 and you sell. That's including all cards 45 cents and above. So, if I'm selling cards 30 cents and above, then I'm making more money on top of that. Anyway, my cat's back. So anyways, breaking down commander decks. A lot of work. But I did it. I did so much of it. I think you saw that about 74 grand of commander decks and collections. That I sold other stuff too, but most of that is low value stuff, like less than $10 cards, which is crazy. I mean, I'm a seller on TCG Player. I'm listed at over 10,000 reviews. Like, let me show you. So here is my screen. Oh no, my daughter's waking up. That's crazy. So you can see the feedback here. 10,000, 11,000 lifetime feedback. It's been good. It's been really good. It's been quite successful to just sell on TCG Player. You can see that I have like 100% feedback. The cheat code for that is if somebody gives you negative feedback, you refund them. It sounds stupid, and some people aren't willing to do this, which is okay. And then you'll just have worse feedback. But if somebody writes you and says, hey, my card was crappily packed, or, I got a terrible card or whatever, you just give them a full refund. In my experience, that hasn't happened very often. And I don't know. I just haven't lost very much money. Like far less. I know, like, for example, Kitchen Table TCG says that like 1%, that you should count 1% of all your profits as like, or that you're going to lose 1% in transactions. I've lost less than that for sure. But I don't know if I've just been lucky or what the deal is, or the types of cards I sell. I don't know. So that's pretty cool. It's been fun. It's been fun to selling a TCG player. So the second thing, along with commander decks, are collections. I will buy collections off of Facebook Marketplace and sell them. And I'm shooting for that 70% market value. Like, I'm going to buy a collection this Friday. I've been going back and forth with this guy. It's been really, I don't know. Everyone has all these Mana Vault, Mana Box, and Mana and Moxfield and all these different apps. And I'm just like, well, what is the value of your collection so I can buy it? And it's kind of hard to figure out, but it looks like it's $1,100 collection. 70% of that is like $780. I'm going to buy it for 800, overpay him a little bit, but he says he's going to throw in a commander deck, which sounds a little wild. I have found that on average, people are willing to put in, like, I don't know, people really appreciate you buying their collection at 70%, at least where I'm at in Virginia. People just are happy to have money in exchange for their cards. And so, they're willing to throw in extras, which is pretty cool. But obviously your business can't count on that. So you buy at 70% and sell the singles. And that is some good money. The pro tip with that is make sure you record for taxes how much you're spending on these collections. That's critical. Anyways, good times. Thanks y'all for watching. I'll see you later.